Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Morning Markets from True Potential. Today, we'll focus in on asset market performance from yesterday, and we'll also look at a key story, a topical story, that of the listing of Coinbase in the US. Firstly, then, just looking at asset market performance yesterday, equity markets in Europe, FTSE 100, Euro Stoxx 50, continue to move gradually higher over the course of the day. Looking at that then in the US, we saw US markets start in a positive vein, but over the course of the day they did come off a little bit, but nothing specific in terms of a catalyst there. We discussed yesterday the move that we saw in sovereign bond yields coming lower. That was sustained yesterday with no change in sovereign bond yields. I think the only thing there of note yesterday was that we got some more detail on the ECB, the European Union 800 billion recovery fund, and how that would be financed in terms of the issuance that would be made, the types of issuance, whether it's green bonds or normal bonds for want of a better way to describe them, and also looking at the various different maturities. So we do know that we will see about 150 billion euros raised on an annual basis to meet that 800 billion funding requirement that has been identified. Other asset markets from yesterday, first thing to just really focus in on is currency markets. We've seen the dollar weaken over the course of the month of April on a trade-weighted basis, and that was continued yesterday. It was much more evident yesterday in terms of dollar weakness against some of the commodity currencies, and a large part of that coming through because of the strength that we have seen in the oil price. Oil price moved higher about 4% yesterday, both in WTI and Brent. That has been driven by two factors really. One, lower inventory levels in the US, but then also looking at some of the forecasts that have been revised by both the IEA and OPEC, where they have increased their demand expectations for 2021 as economic recovery gains momentum and indeed accelerates in some areas of the globe. We touched on yesterday the US reporting season, that would be starting. Clearly we had two of the major US banks reporting yesterday, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Very strong results from both of them, particularly when we look at the contribution that came from their capital markets, their investment banking businesses. The one area to really focus in on was a comment from JP Morgan, and it just looked at the core commercial aspects of their business in terms of loan growth. And whilst yes, we are seeing economic recovery coming through, loan demand still remains pretty anemic, and they indicated that loan growth was about 1% year on year. So that's something that we would be expecting to see improving going forward. And then focusing in on Coinbase, this is an area of the market that is really fascinating, thinking about the role of cryptocurrencies. And it would be really, I suppose, remiss not to mention Coinbase given the scale of the listing yesterday in the US. So Coinbase operates the largest digital currency exchange. Some 56 million customers use it. Thinking about the scale of the listing yesterday, it's quite impressive to think about the value that's being attributed to the business. So it listed with a value of some $65 billion. That puts it in a comparable state to the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange. If we look here in closer to home in terms of the London Stock Exchange Group, that's valued at some $58 billion. So that just gives you a scale of the market capitalization that's been achieved by this business. And I suppose also it really does mark a significant milestone for cryptocurrencies. If we think about the performance that we've seen from the likes of Bitcoin over the course of the past number of years, and indeed since it was formed some 12 years ago, look at it just this year, it's an asset that has returned well over 100% from the beginning of the year, so quite a phenomenal return there. I think really it's one of these areas that does polarize views and discussions. We just have to look at Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, yesterday discussing cryptocurrencies as a means of speculation really at this point in time. But is it a speculative asset, or is it a store of value, or is it an evolving asset class. I think time will tell on those factors, but one of the big issues that we've written about in the past, and I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to, is really the volatility that we see in these types of assets, and in particular in cryptocurrencies. The inherent volatility, it does pose a problem if we think about it as a store of value. So that's one thing to always be aware of. This might alter over time, and indeed the listing of Coinbase may be one way to bring more transparency to this market. So there's no doubt that it will continue to provide an interesting talking point, an interesting discussion point, and one that we'll continue to follow with interest. Just looking at equity markets in Asia today, this morning we've seen little direction there, bit of a wait and see ahead of a lot of economic data to come from China tomorrow. And we'll also get a sense of inflation in Europe when we get Germany, France and a number of other countries releasing inflation data prints. I'll leave it there for today, but please do join us again tomorrow. Many thanks.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the True Potential YouTube channel. If you have any questions or requests for future videos, let us know in the comments.